What if everything you've been taught about sex was designed to cage your soul rather than set it free? Imagine a world where the most primal creative force within you, your sexual energy, has been twisted into a tool of control, stripped of its sacredness, and sold back to you as sin-shame or a fleeting commodity. This is the reality. We live in a carefully constructed illusion that binds consciousness, emotions, and freedom. To control sexual energy is to control the very essence of what makes us human. But what happens when we unmask these lies and reclaim the mystery of our own life force? From the moment we're born, society feeds us a narrative about sex that's less about liberation and more about domination. Religions brand it as sin, a forbidden fruit to be feared, unless sanctified by rigid rules. Media transforms it into a product, glossy advertisements, provocative films, and endless streams of consumer content that reduce intimacy to a transaction. Even science, in its colder moments, dissects sex into mere biology, ignoring its deeper mystical pulse. The result: a world where sex is no longer a sacred act of creation, but a weapon used to manipulate, divide, and distract. Consider the messages we absorb daily. From billboards to social media, we're bombarded with images that equate sexual desire with power status or material gain. Buy this perfume and you'll be irresistible. Watch this show and feel the thrill of forbidden lust. These aren't invitations to explore your inner divinity. They're traps designed to keep you chasing external validation. By turning sex into a commodity, society ensures you remain a consumer, forever seeking, but never truly finding. The sacredness of sex, its ability to connect us to the divine and to each other, is buried beneath layers of distortion. But why? Why does this matter so much to those who shape our world? Because sexual energy is the root of consciousness itself. It's the spark that ignites creativity, passion, and spiritual awakening. When you control someone's sexual energy, you control their emotions, their thoughts, their very freedom. A person disconnected from their own life force is easier to manipulate, more likely to conform, to obey, to accept a life of quiet desperation. The powers that be, whether religious institutions, media, empires, or cultural norms, know this. They've known it for centuries, and so they've woven a web of lies to keep you from discovering the truth, that your sexual energy is a gateway to liberation, not a chain to bind you. Think about the contradictions we're fed. Sex is natural but also shameful. It's private but endlessly exploited for public consumption. It's sacred in one breath and sinful in the next. These mixed signals aren't accidents, they're deliberate. They create confusion, guilt, and fear emotions that keep you disconnected from your own power. When you're afraid of your desires, you're less likely to explore them deeply, to question the rules, or to seek the mystical truths that lie beneath the surface. Instead, you're funneled into a cycle of craving and repression, always seeking release but never truly free. Yet beneath this constructed chaos, there's a deeper truth waiting to be uncovered. Sex, in its purest form, is a sacred act, a ritual of union that transcends the physical and touches the divine. Ancient cultures knew this. From the temples of ancient Egypt to the tantric practices of India, sex was revered as a pathway to spiritual awakening, a dance of energies that could elevate consciousness and dissolve the illusion of separation. This wasn't about hedonism or indulgence. It was about mastery, about channeling the raw power of creation into something transcendent. But somewhere along the way, this wisdom was buried. As societies grew and power structures solidified, the sacredness of sex became a threat. A population awakened to its own creative power is a population that cannot be controlled. So the narrative shifted. Sex was redefined as dangerous, sinful, or trivial, anything but holy. The church preached abstinence or procreation, stripping away its spiritual depth. The rise of consumerism turned it into a product to be bought and sold. And modern media, it's perfected the art of turning your life force into a dopamine hit, a quick fix that leaves you empty and wanting more. Unmasking these lies is the first step toward liberation. It means questioning everything you've been taught about sex and desire. It means looking beyond the glossy surface of what's sold to you and diving into the mystery of what's been hidden. Your sexual energy isn't a sin to be suppressed or a commodity to be exploited. It's a sacred flame, a spark of the divine that lives within you. When you begin to see it this way, everything changes. You start to feel the pulse of your own power, the whisper of something ancient and alive stirring in your core. This journey isn't about rejecting the physical or chasing fleeting pleasures. It's about rediscovering the sacredness of sex, reclaiming its mystery and using it as a tool to awaken your consciousness. The path ahead is both mystical and scientific, a blend of ancient wisdom and modern understanding that can guide you toward freedom. But it begins here with the courage to unmask the lies and see the truth that your sexual energy is the key to unlocking your soul's potential. The question now is, are you ready to step through the veil and explore what lies beyond? To reclaim the sacredness of your own life force and rewrite the story you've been told. The journey is yours to take, and it starts with a single fearless step into the unknown. The truth about sex has been hidden in plain sight, buried beneath centuries of deliberate distortion. As you begin to peel back the layers of lies uncovered in Part 1, a new question emerges. How did something as sacred as sexual energy, so revered by ancient cultures as a bridge to the divine, become a tool for control and division? The answer lies in the twisting of history, a slow and calculated effort to reshape our perception of this primal force. From ancient temples to modern screens, the story of sex has been rewritten to keep you tethered to fear, shame, and dependence. Let's step into the past to uncover the roots of this sacred mystery and trace how it was stolen from us. In the dawn of human civilization, sex was not just an act. It was a ritual, a holy communion with the cosmos. Ancient cultures across the globe understood sexual energy as the pulse of creation itself, a force that mirrored the divine act of bringing life into being. In ancient Egypt, the union of Isis and Osiris was more than a myth. It was a sacred blueprint for human connection, a ritual that aligned the mortal with the eternal. Temples dedicated to love and fertility were places of reverence where priests and priestesses guided initiates through sexual rites to awaken their spiritual potential. These acts weren't about indulgence, they were disciplined practices designed to channel the raw power of desire into a transcendent experience of unity. In India, the traditions of Tantra and the worship of deities like Shiva and Shakti elevated sex to an art form. Tantric practitioners saw sexual union as a microcosm of the universe, a dance of masculine and feminine energies that dissolved the illusion of separation. Through breath, touch, and intention, partners could awaken the Kundalini, the coiled serpent of energy at the base of the spine, and ascend toward enlightenment. Far from being sinful, sex was a sacred path to the divine, a way to merge with the infinite while still in human form. Similarly, in Taoist China, sexual practices were a cornerstone of health and longevity. The exchange of yin and yang energies through lovemaking was believed to cultivate Jing, the life essence nourishing both body and soul. These traditions weren't outliers. From the Gnostic mystics of early Christianity, who saw sexual union as a metaphor for reuniting with the divine spark, to the indigenous shamans of the Americas who used ecstatic rituals to commune with the spirit world, sex was universally understood as a gateway to higher consciousness. It was a force of creation, not just of bodies, but of ideas, visions, and spiritual awakening. To engage with sexual energy was to tap into the same power that birthed the stars, a power too vast, too sacred to be taken lightly. But as empires rose and power consolidated, this sacred knowledge became a threat. A people connected to their sexual energy are a people awake creative and free qualities that don't serve those who seek control. The turning point came with the rise of organized religion, particularly in the West. Early Christianity, influenced by ascetic movements, began to reframe sex as a necessary evil, permissible only for procreation within the confines of marriage. The body, once a temple of divine energy, was cast as a source of temptation and desire, became synonymous with sin. The Church's moralizing grip tightened, branding sexual pleasure as a path to damnation unless strictly controlled. This wasn't just a theological shift, it was a strategic one. By instilling fear and guilt around sex, religious institutions gained unprecedented power over people's inner lives. Confessionals became a tool to monitor and regulate desire, while sermons preached shame to keep the faithful in line. The sacred rituals of ancient temples were replaced with rigid dogmas, and the mystical union of bodies was reduced to a utilitarian act. Women, in particular, bore the brunt of this distortion, their bodies and desires demonized as the root of moral decay, a narrative that echoes even today. The distortion didn't stop with religion. As the centuries passed, the rise of capitalism and mass media added new layers to the manipulation. In the modern era, sex was no longer just a sin, it became a commodity. Hollywood films, advertising campaigns, and later the internet turned sexual desire into a currency. Billboards promised seduction through perfume or cars, while pornography offered instant gratification at the click of a button. But this wasn't liberation, it was a new kind of cage. By flooding the world with hypersexualized images, media created a cycle of craving and release, hooking people on shallow pleasures while distancing them from the deeper sacred potential of their desires. This cycle is no accident. It's a machine designed to keep you dependent, chasing fleeting highs that never satisfy. From the church to the corporation, the pattern is the same: sell fear, then sell release. Make people afraid of their own bodies, then offer them salvation through obedience or consumption. The result is a society addicted to distraction, disconnected from the true power of sexual energy. The sacred rituals of our ancestors, practices that once opened doorways to the divine, have been replaced with a hollow imitation, a shadow of what sex could be. A moment to reflect. Can you feel this distortion in your own life? Have you ever sensed a disconnect between the sexual messages bombarding you and the deeper, more authentic desires stirring within? Take a moment to think about the images, stories, or beliefs that have shaped your view of sex. Where did they come from, and who benefits from you believing them? Share your thoughts in the comments below, or journal about a time when you felt the sacredness of your own energy, trying to break through the noise. The history of sex is a history of power, who wields it and who is stripped of it. But the story doesn't end here. Beneath the layers of distortion, the ancient truths still pulse, waiting to be reclaimed. In the next part, we'll dive into the mystical traditions that have preserved these secrets, from Tantra to Taoism, and explore how they can guide us back to the sacredness of our own life force. The past holds the keys to our liberation, if we're brave enough to unlock them. As we unravel the distorted history of sexual energy, a new horizon emerges, one where the ancient wisdom of mystical traditions beckons us back to the sacred. These teachings, preserved in the shadows of time, hold the keys to reclaiming sex as a divine act, a force that awakens the soul and aligns us with the cosmos. From the tantric temples of India to the Taoist practices of China, from the esoteric rites of ancient Egypt to the hidden truths of Gnostic Christianity, These traditions reveal a profound truth. Sexual energy is the creative spark of existence, a coiled serpent of power waiting to rise within us. Let's step into these sacred streams of knowledge and rediscover the mystery that has been kept from us for too long. In the heart of these mystical traditions lies a shared understanding. Sex is not merely physical, it is the alchemy of creation itself. It is the force that weaves life into being the same energy that pulses through the stars and stirs the oceans. This isn't metaphor, it's a lived reality, a science of the soul that ancient practitioners mastered through disciplined practice. They saw sexual energy as a bridge between the human and the divine, a sacred current that, when harnessed, could elevate consciousness and dissolve the illusions of separation. To engage with this energy was to participate in the eternal act of creation, to become co-creators with the universe. In the tantric traditions of India, this truth is embodied in the dance of Shiva and Shakti, the divine masculine and feminine energies. Tantra teaches that sexual union is a sacred ritual, a merging of opposites that mirrors the unity of all existence. Through breath touch and intention, partners can awaken the Kundalini, a potent serpentine energy coiled at the base of the spine, and guide it upward through the body's energy centers or chakras. This isn't about chasing pleasure for its own sake. It's about sublimation, transforming raw desire into a pathway to enlightenment. The act of lovemaking becomes a meditation, a way to dispel the illusion of separateness and experience oneness with the divine. Imagine two souls locked in a gaze, their breaths synchronize, their bodies trembling with the pulse of creation. This is the tantric vision of sacred relationship. In Taoist China, sexual energy was revered as a cornerstone of health, longevity, and spiritual harmony. Taoists called this energy Jing, the essence of life, and saw sexual practice as a way to cultivate and preserve it. Through techniques like controlled breathing, energy circulation, and mindful lovemaking, practitioners could balance the yin and yang forces within themselves and their partners. Sex was not just an act of pleasure, but a science of vitality, a way to nourish the body's organs, strengthen the spirit, and align with the rhythms of the universe. Taoist texts describe lovers as alchemists, blending their energies to create a refined elixir of immortality, a metaphor for the awakened consciousness that arises from mastering one's life force. The ancient Egyptians, too, understood sex as a cosmic ritual. Their myths of Isis and Osiris, or Hathor and Horus, were not just stories but sacred templates for human connection. In temple rites, priests and priestesses used sexual energy to invoke divine presence, channeling the creative power of the gods to heal, transform, and resurrect consciousness. These acts were highly disciplined, requiring years of training to align body, mind, and soul. The union of masculine and feminine was seen as a reenactment of the universe's birth, a way to enter the cosmic creative stream and awaken the spark of divinity within. To make love in this way was to become a vessel for the eternal, to touch the infinite while still in mortal form. Even in the early days of Christianity, Gnostic mystics held similar views. They saw sexual union as a symbol of the soul's reunion with the divine, a sacred act that mirrored the marriage of Christ and Sophia, the embodiment of divine wisdom. Unlike the later dogmas that vilified the body, Gnostic teachings celebrated the interplay of masculine and feminine energies as a path to spiritual wholeness. Their rituals, though often shrouded in secrecy, used the metaphor of the bridal chamber to describe the mystical union of opposites, a process that awakened the practitioner to their true divine nature. What unites these traditions is their recognition of sexual energy as Kundalini, the latent power within every human being waiting to be awakened. Often depicted as a serpent coiled at the base of the spine, Kundalini is the raw creative force of life itself. When activated through disciplined practice, whether through tantric lovemaking, Taoist energy work, or Egyptian ritual, it rises through the body's energy centers, burning away illusions and opening the gates to higher consciousness. This is not a casual process. It requires intention, reverence, and mastery. To awaken Kundalini is to ignite the soul to become a living flame of awareness in a world of shadows. But these teachings were not meant for everyone. They were guarded, passed down through initiations to those deemed ready to wield such power. Why? Because sexual energy, when misunderstood or misused, can be as destructive as it is transformative. Without discipline, the awakening of Kundalini can overwhelm the mind, leading to chaos or even madness. This is why these traditions emphasize preparation, meditation, breathwork, and ethical living as prerequisites for working with such a potent force. The sacredness of sex lies in its potential to elevate, but that potential comes with responsibility. Yet these truths have been systematically erased from mainstream knowledge. The control systems of religion, politics, and media have little interest in a population awakened to its own power. By reducing sex to sin or spectacle, they've ensured that most people never discover its deeper purpose. The mystical traditions, though, have kept the flame alive, whispering their secrets to those who seek them. They remind us that sexual energy is not something to fear or exploit. It's a sacred gift, a key to unlocking the mysteries of existence. As you read these words, can you feel the stirrings of this ancient wisdom within you? The pulse of your own life force yearning to be honored rather than suppressed. The mystical traditions offer a map, but the journey is yours to take. In the next part, we'll dive deeper into the science and mystery of Kundalini, the serpent at the base of your spine, and explore how its awakening can set you free. For now, pause and listen to the quiet voice within. What is it telling you about the sacredness of your own energy? The ancient traditions have unveiled a truth that pulses beneath the surface of our modern world. Sexual energy is the sacred spark of creation, a divine force that can awaken the soul. But how does this energy move within us, and why has its power been hidden for so long? At the heart of this mystery lies Kundalini, the coiled serpent of life force that rests at the base of your spine, waiting to rise. This is no myth or metaphor. It's a tangible, transformative energy revered by mystics and feared by those who seek control. To understand Kundalini is to unlock the secret of your own liberation, but the path is as dangerous as it is profound. Let's dive into the science and mystery of this sacred force and discover why its awakening is both a gift and a responsibility. Picture a serpent, luminous and ancient, curled in the darkness at the root of your being. This is Kundalini, the primal energy of creation, dormant but alive, humming with the potential to ignite your entire existence. In the tantric tradition, it's described as a feminine force, Shakti, yearning to reunite with Shiva, the masculine consciousness at the crown of your head. When awakened, this serpent uncoils, rising through the 7 chakras energy centers along your spine, burning away illusions, cleansing the subconscious, and opening the gates to unified consciousness. It's a journey from the physical to the divine, a process that transforms desire into transcendence and fear into freedom. But what exactly happens when Kundalini awakens? Imagine a current of electricity surging through your body, warm and vibrant, dissolving blockages in its path. As it moves through each chakra, it activates different aspects of your being. At the root chakra, it grounds you in survival and instinct. At the sacral chakra, it awakens creativity and sensuality. By the time it reaches the heart, it opens you to unconditional love. At the third eye, it grants intuitive vision. When it finally pierces the crown chakra, it merges your individual consciousness with the infinite estate mystics describe as enlightenment. This is not just a spiritual concept, Modern science hints at its reality with studies on meditation and energy practices, showing measurable changes in brain activity, nervous system regulation, and emotional resilience. Yet the awakening of Kundalini is not a casual endeavor. It's a force of such intensity that without proper preparation it can overwhelm the mind and body. Mystical traditions warn that an untrained awakening, sparked by reckless practices, trauma, or unchecked desire, can lead to chaos. Some describe it as a fire that burns too brightly, causing physical symptoms like tremors or heat, or psychological ones like anxiety, dissociation, or even temporary madness. This is why Tantra Taoism and other traditions emphasize disciplined meditation to still the mind, breathwork, to channel energy, and ethical living to purify the heart. To awaken Kundalini is to wield the power of creation itself, and such power demands respect. Why then has this knowledge been erased from mainstream teachings? Because Kundalini is a threat to any system that thrives on control. A person whose Kundalini is awake is no longer bound by fear, shame, or external validation. They become sovereign, their consciousness aligned with the infinite, their actions guided by inner truth. This is dangerous to institutions, religious, political, or cultural, that rely on conformity and dependence. By branding sexual energy as sinful or trivial, these systems have severed humanity from its most potent tool for liberation. The serpent has been demonized, its power locked away in myths and taboos, leaving most of us unaware of the sacred fire within. But the science of Kundalini is not lost. It's encoded in the practices of mystical traditions. In Tantra, lovers awaken Kundalini through sacred union using breath touch and eye contact to channel sexual energy upward. In Taoism, practitioners circulate Jing through specific movements and visualizations, transforming desire into vitality. Even modern practices like yoga and qigong draw on these principles, using postures and breath to stimulate the flow of life force. Neuroscientists are beginning to catch up, noting how these practices enhance vagal tone balance, the autonomic nervous system, and increase neuroplasticity, biological markers of the transformation mystics have described for millennia. The key to Kundalini is intention. Unlike the fleeting pleasures of shallow desire, which dissipate energy, Kundalini work is about sublimation, redirecting sexual energy toward higher purposes. This might mean channeling passion into creative projects, spiritual practice, or deep connection with a partner. It's a process of mastery, not suppression, where desire becomes a sacred fuel for awakening. But it requires patience. The serpent doesn't rise overnight. It demands a commitment to inner work, a willingness to face the shadows of shame, guilt, or trauma that block its path, a moment to connect. Have you ever felt a surge of energy in your body, a warmth, a tingling, a sense of aliveness that seemed to come from nowhere? This might have been a glimpse of your Kundalini stirring. Take a moment to reflect. What practices, yoga, meditation, dance, or even moments of deep intimacy make you feel most alive? How might you honor this energy as sacred? Share your experiences in the comments, or try a simple practice. Sit quietly, breathe deeply into your lower belly, and imagine a warm light at the base of your spine. Notice what arises without judgment. The awakening of Kundalini is a journey of reclaiming your birthright, the power to create, to heal, to transcend. But it's also a reminder of why this knowledge has been hidden, because it sets you free. Those who control society's narratives know that a population awakened to its sexual energy cannot be manipulated or subdued. In the next part, we'll explore how modern systems, through advertising, media, and pornography, have turned desire into a trap, keeping us addicted to shallow pleasures and disconnected from our true potential. For now, feel the serpent within you, coiled and waiting. Are you ready to let it rise? as the serpent of Kundalini stirs within its power, reveals not only the path to liberation, but also the forces that seek to bind us. The sacred energy of sex, once a divine ritual, has been weaponized in our modern world, not through overt suppression, but through a subtler, more insidious trap, the manipulation of desire itself. From the flickering screens of our devices to the glossy promises of advertisements, society has crafted a machine that turns our deepest longings into chains. This is the control mechanism of desire, a system designed to keep you addicted, distracted, and disconnected from the sacred potential of your own life force. Let's peel back the curtain on this illusion and uncover how it works and why it's so effective. Desire is the pulse of life, the spark that drives creation, connection, and growth. In its purest form, it's a yearning for wholeness, a longing to merge with another, to create something new, to touch the divine. The mystical traditions taught us to honor this desire, to channel it into acts of love art or spiritual awakening. But in the modern world, desire has been hijacked. Instead of a sacred flame, it's been reduced to a dopamine hit, a quick fix that leaves you craving more. This isn't an accident, it's a deliberate strategy, one that exploits the biology of your brain and the depths of your soul to keep you tethered to a cycle of consumption. Walk through any city, scroll through your phone, or turn on a screen and you'll see the mechanism at work. Advertisements promise that a new car, a designer outfit, or a seductive perfume will make you desirable, powerful, whole. Movies and TV shows weave narratives of lust and conquest, framing sex as a game of dominance or a prize to be won. Pornography, now more accessible than ever, offers instant gratification, flooding your brain with dopamine while bypassing the deeper connection that true intimacy brings. These aren't random cultural trends, they're carefully engineered to hook you, to turn your sacred desire into a commodity that can be bought and sold. The science behind this is chillingly precise. Dopamine, the neurotransmitter of reward, spikes when you encounter something novel or pleasurable, urging you to seek more. Advertisers and media creators know this, designing content to trigger that spike over and over. A suggestive ad, a steamy scene, a provocative thumbnail, they're all crafted to pull you into a loop of craving and release. Pornography takes this to an extreme, offering endless novelty at the cost of real connection. Studies show that excessive consumption can rewire the brain-dulling sensitivity to natural pleasures and fostering addiction-like behaviors. The result, a society of shallow pleasure addicts chasing fleeting highs, while their deeper desires for love, meaning, and transcendence go unmet. This system thrives because it's profitable. A population addicted to quick fixes is a population that spends on product subscriptions, distractions. It's also a population that's easy to control. When your energy is drained by endless scrolling or fleeting encounters, you're less likely to question authority, seek truth, or tap into your own power. Fear plays a role too. The same media that sells you desire also sells you insecurity. You're not attractive enough, not successful enough, not enough. This creates a perfect storm. Fear drives you to consume, consumption fuels addiction, and addiction keeps you divided from others and from yourself. The tragedy is that this trap warps the very essence of desire. True desire is about connection, about bridging the gap between self and other human and divine. It's the spark that fuels a lover's gaze, a poet's verse, a mystic's prayer. But the control mechanism replaces this with fragmented images, airbrushed bodies, scripted fantasies, unattainable ideals. These illusions promise fulfillment, but deliver emptiness, leaving you caught in a cycle of wanting without ever truly having. The sacred longing for wholeness is redirected into a maze of distractions, and the kundalini that could awaken your soul remains dormant, its power siphoned off by a system that profits from your disconnection. This isn't just a personal struggle, it's a collective one. By keeping us addicted to shallow pleasures, the system ensures we remain divided. Instead of forming deep, meaningful connections, we compete, compare, and consume. Instead of channeling our sexual energy into creativity or awakening, we dissipate it in fleeting pursuits. The control mechanism doesn't just bind individuals, it fractures communities, making it harder to build a world rooted in love and truth. And all the while, the sacred potential of our desire, the power to heal, to create, to transcend, lies buried beneath the noise. But there's hope. The first step to breaking free is awareness. By recognizing the trap, you can begin to reclaim your desire, to redirect it toward what truly matters. This means questioning the messages you've been fed, from the media's portrayal of sex to the cultural norms that shape your beliefs. It means noticing when you're caught in a dopamine loop and choosing to step back, to breathe, to reconnect with your deeper self. The serpent of Kundalini is still within you, waiting to rise. The system may have buried it, but it cannot extinguish it. A moment to pause. Take a moment to reflect on your own relationship with desire. Are there moments when you feel pulled into the trap, scrolling endlessly, chasing fleeting pleasures, or comparing yourself to impossible ideals? What would it feel like to redirect that energy towards something sacred? A creative project, a deep conversation, a moment of stillness. Try this the next time you feel the urge to consume. Pause and place your hand on your lower belly. Breathe deeply and ask yourself, what do I truly desire? Share your insights in the comments or journal about what you discover. The control mechanism of desire is powerful, but it's not invincible. In the next part, we'll explore the path of self-liberation, practical steps to sanctify your desire, transmute your energy, and revive the sacredness of sex. The journey to freedom begins with a single choice: to see through the illusion and claim the power that's always been yours. Are you ready to break the cycle and let your true desire lead the way? The control mechanism of desire, with its glittering illusions and dopamine traps, has kept us bound, but the serpent of Kundalini still coils within, ready to rise. The journey to reclaim the sacredness of our sexual energy is not about fighting the system head-on. It's about turning inward, sanctifying our desires, and forging a path of self-liberation. This is where the mystical meets the practical, where ancient wisdom and modern practice converge to transform sex from a commodity back into a soul portal. By transmuting desire into creativity, awareness, and connection, we can heal old wounds, break free from conditioning, and awaken the divine spark within. Let's walk this path together and discover how to make desire sacred once more. The first step is radical. Do not deny your desire. Society has taught us to fear our longings, to bury them under shame, or distract them with shallow pleasures. But desire is not the enemy. It's the raw material of creation, the pulse of your life force. To sanctify desire is to honor it as a sacred gift, a compass guiding you toward wholeness. This means shifting your relationship with desire from one of craving to one of reverence. Instead of chasing fleeting highs, you learn to channel this energy into acts of love art or spiritual awakening. The goal is not to suppress, but to elevate, to turn the fire of passion into a flame of transformation. How do we do this? The mystical traditions offer a treasure trove of practices, each designed to harness sexual energy and direct it toward higher purposes. Tantra, for instance, teaches us to approach lovemaking as a meditation. Imagine sitting across from your partner, gazes, locked breaths, synchronized, your hands resting gently on each other's hearts. In this space, sex becomes a ritual of presence, where every touch is an offering, every moment a prayer. Through techniques like breathwork, eye gazing, and slow, intentional movement, tantric lovers transmute physical desire into a shared journey toward the divine. This isn't about performance or climax. It's about connection, about dissolving the boundaries between self and other. Breathwork, a cornerstone of both Tantra and Taoism, is another powerful tool. By breathing deeply into the lower belly, you can awaken the Kundalini and guide its energy upward through the chakras. Try this sit in a quiet space, close your eyes, and inhale slowly, imagining a warm light rising from the base of your spine. As you exhale, feel that light spread through your body, dissolving tension and igniting creativity. This simple practice done daily can shift your energy from scattered to centered, helping you reclaim the power that external distractions have stolen. Science backs this up. Deep diaphragmatic breathing activates the parasympathetic nervous system, reducing stress and enhancing emotional clarity. Sexual alchemy, a practice rooted in both Eastern and Western esoteric traditions, takes this further. It's the art of transforming sexual energy into creative or spiritual energy, even outside the context of physical intimacy. Artists, writers, and innovators have long tapped into this, intuitively channeling their passion into their work. You can do this consciously by setting an intention before a creative act, whether painting, writing, or problem-solving, and visualizing your sexual energy as a vibrant force fueling your creation. Studies on creativity suggest that heightened arousal states, when directed mindfully, can enhance divergent thinking and problem-solving, a modern echo of ancient alchemical wisdom. Healing shame and guilt is another crucial step. The control mechanism thrives on these emotions, embedding them deep in our psyche through cultural narratives and personal experiences. To break free, you must face these shadows with compassion. Journaling can help write about the messages you've internalized about sex and desire, and ask yourself, whose voice is this? Does it serve my truth? Therapy or somatic practices like yoga can also release stored trauma from the body, freeing up energy for awakening. The goal is to return to a state of innocence, where your desires are neither sinful nor trivial, but sacred expressions of your soul. Eye-gazing, a deceptively simple practice, can deepen this process, whether with a partner or yourself in a mirror. Sit in silence, looking into another's eyes or your own, and allow vulnerability to surface. This act bypasses the mind's defenses, fostering a connection that feels almost mystical. Research on eye-gazing shows it increases oxytocin, the bonding hormone, and can even synchronize heartbeats, creating a sense of unity that mirrors the spiritual union described in tantric texts. In these moments, you glimpse the truth. Your desire is a portal to the divine, a bridge to the infinite within and beyond. A moment to practice. Try this tonight. Set aside 5 minutes for a breathwork or eye-gazing practice. If you're with a partner, sit facing each other, breathe together, and gaze without speaking. If alone, use a mirror or simply focus on your breath, visualizing your Kundalini rising. Notice how your body feels, what emotions arise. Share your experience in the comments below. What did you feel, and how might you bring this awareness into your daily life? Let's build a community of awakening, one sacred breath at a time. This path of self-liberation is not about perfection, but presence. Every step, whether a mindful breath, a moment of creative flow, or a release of old shame, brings you closer to mastery of your energy. The beauty of these practices is their accessibility. You don't need a temple or a guru, only a willingness to show up for yourself. As you sanctify your desire, you'll notice a shift. The external world, with its ads and distractions, loses its grip. Your relationships deepen, your creativity flourishes, and your sense of purpose sharpens. You become a beacon of awakened energy, untouchable by the control mechanisms that once held you. But this journey is bigger than the individual. As you liberate your own energy, you plant seeds for a collective awakening. In the next part, we'll explore how this personal revolution can spark a global one, breaking down the old structures of fear and division. to birth a new world rooted in connection and truth. For now, take a moment to feel the power within you, the serpent stirring, the flame growing. You are not a prisoner of desire. You are its alchemist, ready to transform the raw into the sacred. The path of self-liberation has brought you to a threshold. By sanctifying your desire, transmuting sexual energy, and healing the wounds of shame, you've begun to reclaim the sacred power within. The serpent of Kundalini stirs its fire, illuminating your soul and dissolving the illusions that once bound you. But this journey is not yours alone. As you awaken, you become a spark in a greater transformation, a collective wave that can reshape the world. When individuals reclaim their sexual energy, they become unstoppable. When the collective does the same, the old structures of fear, division, and control crumble, giving way to a new society rooted in awareness, connection, and truth. Let's explore how your personal revolution can ignite a global one, returning sex to its rightful place as a soul portal. Imagine a world where sexual energy is no longer a commodity or a sin, but a sacred force honored as the pulse of creation itself. In this world, relationships are built on mutual reverence, not competition or conquest. Creativity flourishes as people channel their life force into art, innovation, and healing. Communities thrive, bound by shared awakening rather than shared fear. This is not a utopian dream. It's a possibility, one that begins with the courage of individuals like you, who choose to break free from the control mechanisms and embody the truth. Every time you sanctify your desire, you send ripples into the collective, weakening the grip of the old paradigm and strengthening the foundation of the new. The tipping point is closer than you think. History shows that societal shifts often begin with a small awakened minority. When enough people reclaim their power, the collective consciousness shifts, creating a cascade of change. This is why the control systems, religion, media, consumerism have worked so hard to distort sexual energy. They know that a population connected to its life force is a population that cannot be manipulated. An awakened individual is a threat to the status quo. An awakened collective is its undoing. By mastering your sexual energy, you become a catalyst, a living example of what's possible when fear gives way to freedom. This revolution is non-violent, rooted not in anger but in awareness. It doesn't require protests or battles, only the quiet, radical act of living authentically. Every time you choose connection over distraction, presence over addiction, or creativity over consumption, you weaken the old structures. You become a beacon, inspiring others to question the narratives they've been fed and seek the truth within. This is how the collective wave builds one heart, one breath, one awakened soul at a time. The mystical traditions foresaw this. Tantra speaks of the union of Shiva and Shakti as a cosmic force that transforms not just individuals, but the world. Taoism envisions a society in harmony with the flow of life. The Gnostics dreamed of a humanity reunited with its divine spark. You are part of this legacy, a thread in a tapestry of awakening. But how do we move from personal to collective change? It starts with community. Seek out others who are on this path. Friends, partners, or groups who share your commitment to sacred living. Practice together, host breathwork circles, explore tantric rituals, or simply share stories of awakening. These connections amplify your energy, creating a field of resonance that ripples outward. Science supports this. Studies on collective meditation show that groups practicing together can reduce stress and even lower crime rates in surrounding areas, a phenomenon known as the Maharishi effect. Imagine the impact of a community united not just in meditation, but in the conscious mastery of sexual energy, channeling it toward healing and creation. Healing is another key. The collective carries the same wounds as the individual: shame, guilt, and disconnection. By addressing these in yourself, you help clear them from the collective psyche. Share your journey openly, whether through conversations, art, or writing. Vulnerability is a powerful antidote to the isolation fostered by the control mechanism. When you speak your truth about desire, healing, or the sacredness of sex, you give others permission to do the same. This creates a culture of authenticity, where people feel safe to explore their energy without fear of judgment. How can you contribute to this collective wave? Try this. Share one insight from your journey with someone you trust. It could be a lesson about desire, a practice like breathwork, or a moment when you felt your kundalini stir. Notice how it feels to speak this truth. Or take it further, organize a small gathering to explore these ideas, whether a discussion group or a ritual of connection. In the comments below, tell us how you're spreading the spark of awakening. What's one step you'll take to build community around sacred energy? Let's inspire each other to create a ripple effect. The new world is already emerging. Across the globe, people are rediscovering the sacredness of sex through practices like Tantra, somatic healing, and conscious relationships. Movements for body positivity, sexual liberation, and spiritual awakening are gaining momentum, challenging the old narratives of shame and commodification. These are signs of the collective wave, proof that the serpent is stirring in humanity's spine. But the work is not done. The old systems will resist, doubling down on fear and distraction. Your role is to stay awake, to keep sanctifying your desire, and to share the light of your awakening with others. As this wave grows, sex will reclaim its place as a soul portal, a gateway to connection, creativity, and the divine. It will no longer be a tool of division, but a bridge to unity, a reminder that we are all part of the same cosmic dance. The revolution is already here, pulsing in your breath, your body, your heart. You are not just a witness to this change, you are its architect. If this journey has stirred something in you, dive deeper. Subscribe to Whispers of Thoth on YouTube for videos that explore the mystical and scientific dimensions of sexual awakening. Like and share our content to spread the spark. In the comments, tell us, what does sacred sex mean to you, and how will you carry this truth forward? Together we can build a world where desire is holy, where energy is free, and where every soul shines with the light of the divine.